resistors, and we have also seen that which kind of resistors are there, and accordingly we have been studying the resistors. So today we'll move forward and we'll see once again the resistor slide. So we were on these resistors. Today will be a little bit of interesting part, how to write small codes for the resistors, how to read resistors, how to write into the resistors. All these things we are going to study. So by far the most important part is to understand these resistors. So we are having the general resistors from R0 to R12. They are general purpose resistors, under which R0 to R7 are the low resistors, whereas from R8 to R12 are the high resistors. Then R13 is the main stack pointer or the process stack pointer. So by default, it is a main stack pointer. And if you are going to use it, you have to give the command for the process stack pointer. Then we have R14 as a link register, R15 as a program counter. Then we have XPSR, that is a program status register. X, why it is X written? Because it is having three types, and if we are using all the three types together, then we can say it is an XPSR. Then we have interrupt mask resistors like primary mask, that is PRI mask, fault mask, and base primary mask. So these are the interrupt mask resistors, which are also called as the special resistors. Which are also called as special resistors. And then there is a control resistor. So CONTROL, control resistors. All these, right from starting from XPSR to control, these are special resistors. So you need to have a special instruction in order to access these special resistors. Whereas the all other resistors right from R0 to R15, you can access it through a simple register command. But for these special resistors, you need a special instruction command. Now let us move to the next part of the resistor, which is a stack push and pop. So there are two types of stack. That is, one is push and pop. Through figure we can say, we can understand it in the next slide. Stack is actually a memory usage model. So how the memory you're going to use it, it's that model. It's a simply part of a system memory, and a pointer register is used to make it work as first in last out buffer. So how the data is going to go in and go out is the most important. So in this case, it is first in and last out buffer. The common use of a stack is to save register contents before some data processing. So obviously we have to save these registers and then restore those contents from the stack after the processing task is done. So you have to restore those contents. It is not necessary to use both the stack pointers. Simple application can rely purely on main stack pointer. The stack pointers are used for accessing the stack memory process, such as push and pop. So with pushing is like going inside and pop is coming out. So that is the two ways you can explain it. In Cortex M3, the instructions for accessing the stack memory are push and pop. So clear cut. If you want the stack memory to access, if you want to access that stack memory, you can use push and pop. So these two commands are useful for accessing the stack memory. The assembly language syntax is as follows. That is, text after each semicolon is the comment. So you'll see that how it is written. Now this is how the push and pop is there. So you can see that there is a stack pointer, there is a memory, and there is a push, and on the right side there is a pop. So stack push operation actually is used to give a backup register contents. So the register content is there. And as far as pop operation is concerned, it is used to restore the register content. So one is used to register you back up the register content, and the other one is used to restore the register contents. So in between you find that there is a data processing, original register contents destroyed. So if it is destroyed, you need how you're going to again restore it. So with the help of pop, you're going to restore it. Push actually gives a backup for the register contents, but pop actually is used to restore. So how the content is read and write in this way, how if you want to access, if you want to go for the process push, and what will happen if we are going to go for the process pop. So push is R0, R0 equal to R0 colon R13 equal to R13 minus 4. So R13 register is going to use. So if you're going to use push, then you are going to write it as R13 minus 4. So this will be as R0 equal to R13. If you see push, it's very simple to understand. If you see push R0 and R13 is written R13 minus 4. So this R13 will be equal to R0. So in this way, you can access the push. Now in case of pop, it is R0 equal to memory of R13, where R13 is equal to R13 plus 4. So for push, it is going to be R13 minus 4, which is again back into R0. And for pop, it is R13 plus 4, which is equal to R13, which is equal to R0. So in this way, you can use push and pop. Once again, I'll repeat this. Push R0, R13 equal to R13 minus 4. So R13, what you're getting is now equal to R0. In case of pop, pop R0 equal to R0 equal to memory R13, which is equal to R13 plus 4, which will be equal to R0. So in this way, we can use the command push and pop. And for what this push and pop is used to access the data from the memory bank, right? You can use push or pop multiple registers in one instruction also. So differently you can use, as well as you can use it in one instruction. So this is how the push and pop is explained. Now after R13, we have to go for R14. R14 is what? It's a link register. So inside an assembly program, you can write it either as R14 or LR. So link register or R14, you can write anything. LR is used to store the return program counter PC when a subroutine or function is called. So for example, when you're using the branch and link, that is BL instruction, at that time means this instruction is used in order to access the link register. Which one? That is a branch and link instruction, that is called as BL. So when subroutine is called, at that time the return address is actually stored in the link register. So for that purpose, the link register is used. Again, I'll repeat, it can be accessed using branch and link instruction. And second, when subroutine is called, the return address is actually stored in the link register. Now how this link register can be accessed? So main, it's main program. So BL is a branch and link function. So call for function 1 using branch and link instruction, then your program counter function 1, and your link register, the next instruction in main. Now when I say that a function 1 is called back, at that time there is a program code of function 1, and then the BXLR, that is link register, return. So in this way you can use the link register, and what purpose for it is? It is used to store the return address in the link register when subroutine is called. So subroutine means what happens if there is a program, and in that program, exactly in between, if you're going to execute some of the code for that thing, those in order to execute that code, you're calling the subroutine. So as soon as you call out the subroutine, it is executed and then it returns to the main program. So in this way, subroutine can be used. So when subroutine is called, the return address is stored in the link register. Then comes after R13, R14, now the program counter R15. So R15 is the program counter. You can access it in the assembly code by either the R15 or called to be as a program counter. The program counter actually is the current program address, This register can be written to control the program flow. So the program counter is nothing but the current program address. So whatever the program that has been written, and written in that address is called as the program counter. This register can be written to control the program flow. So it is used to control the program flow. Because of the pipeline nature of Cortex M3, when you read the register, you will find that the value is different than the location of executing instruction normally by 4. So what is happening is that because of the pipeline nature of the Cortex M3, and if you want to read the register, then the location is different. Like if I'm going to read the location as 0 into 100, and when you use move program counter, So at that time, R0 is not been as 0 into 100, but it is 0 into 1004. So it is been up by four four steps. It is up by 4 steps. So in this way, program counter can be read. Once again, I'll explain. See, you can access it in an assembler code by either R15 or PC. Obviously, if I want to use the program counter, I can use either R15 or program counter. This program counter is nothing but the current program address. So अभी जो अस्तित्व में है, इसका मतलब है कि अभी जो प्रोग्राम है आपका, उसका एड्रेस प्रोग्राम काउंटर आपको देता है. This register can be written to control the program flow. Because of the pipeline nature of the Cortex M3 processor, when you read that register, you find that the value is different than the location of executing instruction. So normally by 4 it is up. So when we say that 0 into 1000 and move R0 PC, this is the instruction. See, move R0 PC. So program counter, when it is at 0, if the location is showing at 0, it is actually not 0, but it is 0 into 1004. So instead of 0 into 1000, it shows 0 into 1004. So in this way, you can access program counter. So before moving to what we have seen is this one. The first is the R13, R14 and R15. So this is the stack push and pop. We have seen that stack push and pop. So push is to store the to back up the register content, whereas the pop is used to restore the register contents. So this thing is for push and pop. Then for the link register, when subroutine is called, the return address is stored in the link register. The return address is stored in the link register. And which kind of instruction is used? Branch and link instruction. So in order to use this R14, we have to use the instruction from branch and link instruction. And when subroutine is called, at that time the return address is stored in the link register. This is the program code to access the link register, that is R14. And then we have seen R15. So R15 is nothing but the program counter, and it gives the current program address. The register can be written to control the program flow, and normally the location is totally different as it looks like if I am at the if my program counter is at 0 into 100, and if I move that program counter for the R0, at that time the location is not 0100, but it is 0 into 1004. Now we'll move to the special registers. So now we are into the section of special registers. Up till this, we have seen R0 to R12, that is general purpose register, then R13, R14 and R15. Now we are moving towards the special register. Now in order to access this special register, we need to have an special instructions. Then only you can access it. Now, what are these special registers? The first one is a program status registers, that is called as PSR. Second is interrupt mask registers, that it includes primary mask, PRI mask, fault mask, and base pry. And the third one is a control registers. All these three are the special registers. So you need a very special instruction. Yes, sir. We need a special instruction to access these special registers. Now, what is that special instruction? One is MSR and the other one is MRS. These instructions do not have the memory address. So what is MSR? MSR is for reading purpose. And what is MRS? It is for writing purpose. Once again, I'll repeat. The special registers are of three types. One is your program status register. Second is interrupt mask registers, which includes pry mask, fault mask, and base pry. And control register, that is control. In order to access these special registers, we need special instructions and which do not have a memory address. They do not have a memory address. So what are these special instructions? One is your MSR and the next one is MRS. Now what is MSR? It is for reading purpose, and what is MRS? It is for writing purpose. Now how it is writing and reading? So when I write MRS register comma special register, that means it will read the special register. Clear? Because MRS is for reading. Then second is MSR, special register to register, write to special register. So if I want to write something in that special register, I'm going to use the command MSR. And if I'm going to read the special register, I'm going to use MRS. So it is clear? Okay. Now we'll move to the program status register. So that is PSR. So first we'll move to the program status register. Now this program status register is divided into three sections. One is an application program status register, which we said to be as APSR. Second is the interrupt program status register, IPSR. And third one is the execution program status register, EPSR. Now these three status registers can be used individually or separately. They can be like, if I want to use application program status register, I can use it separately. If I want to use the interrupt program status register, I can use it separately. If I want to use execution program status register, I can use separately with the special instruction, that is MRS and MSR. If I want to execute all three together, then also I can use. In such case, it is called as XPSR. In such case, it is called as XPSR. So when I am saying XPSR, it means that all the three status registers are used at a time. When I am saying that I wanted to use separately, then I have to give the command related with APSR, IPSR, or EPSR. That is execution program status register, interrupt program status register, and application program status register. Now, how these instructions can be accessed? How they can be accessed? Again, by using the instructions called MSR and MRS. So MSR is for reading purpose, MSR is for writing purpose. Now, how it is read and how it is write? When they are accessed as collective items, so I have said that they can be individually or separately accessed, or they can access together. So when they are accessed together in a collective item, they are called as XPSR. You can read the PSR using MRS instruction, and you can also change the APSR using the MSR instruction. But EPSR and IPSR are only read only. So if I want to use EPSR or IPSR, they are only read only. So you cannot use the MRS there. Sorry, MSR there. Why? Because they are only read only. But as far as the APSR is concerned, you can use it, you can read it, as well as you can write it. So you can access either collectively by the name called as XPSR, or you can separately or individually access them by using the instructions called as MSR or MRS. Now we also know that EPSR and IPSR, that is execution program status register and interrupt program status registers, they are read only. So you cannot use the MSR there. You can only use MRS there. So see, for example, first instruction. So it is MRS. That means what? It is reading, because MRS is for reading purpose. So when I'm saying MRS R0 APSR, that is means it is reading the flag state into R0. So it is reading. Then MRS R0 IPSR, it is only read only. It is not a write. You cannot write in it. So how you're going to read it? So R0 IPSR means reading the interrupt state, or either exception interrupt state or exception interrupt state. Then MRS R0 EPSR, again you can read the execution state. So all the three are used with MRS. They can be read, right? Either APSR, IPSR, or EPSR, they can read. But for writing purpose, you cannot use APSR and IPSR. You can only use APSR. So APSR के अंदर अगर लिखना है हमको, तो आएगा MSR APSR R0, that is right flag state. So you must have understood, actually there are three states program status register. One is your APSR, second is IPSR, and EPSR. So APSR can be read as well as write, whereas IPSR and EPSR are only read only. So you cannot write into these registers, but you can write and read in application program status register. So in this way, the program status register can be understood. Now, in detail little bit. So if we see that the APSR, IPSR and EPSR are individually can be executed. So they are having the number registers numbers from 27 to 31. Then for IPSR, you can see that there is an exception number from 8 to 5, 5 to 8. There are the numbers are from 27 to 31, and exception number for IPSR is from 5 to 8. Then EPSR is 25 to 26, then 24 and 10 to 15. So in this way, the range is given. Now, if I'm going to individually use it, then I can use individually IPSR. I can read as well as write. IPSR I can only read. EFPSR I can only read. So as far as APSR is concerned, it is N for negative, Z for zero, C for carry or borrow, then V for overflow, Q for the sticky saturation flag. So when I'm individually using IPSR, I can use NZCVQ. If I'm individually using IPSR, exception number I can use. For EPSR, I can use ICI, ITT, ICI, You can use that. And when I'm using combinedly, at that time, what it will look like? It will look like XPSR. So you can see that there is the second column, second column. You see that XPSR is NZCVQ, ICIT, T, ICIT, and exception. So when I'm combinedly using it, they will be look like this. So what will be it look like? It will be XPSR. It will look like XPSR in Cortex M3. So these are the bit. So N for negative, Z for zero, C for carry, V for overflow, Q for sticky saturation flag, ISI is for interrupt continuable instruction bit, that is ICI. If the instruction status bit, thumb state always 1, trying to clear this bit will cause a fault exception. An exception number indicates which exception the processor is handling. So obviously, if I am going to have the exception number as 5, then it means that you're handling the 5 exception number. Now, in order to access this program status register as an XPSR means combination of application, interrupt, and execution. In ARM assembler, when accessing this XPSR, all three PSR as one, then the symbol PSR is used. So if I want to read and write at that time, I can use for reading purpose MRS R0 PSR, that is read the combined program status word. And for MSR, it will be PSR R0 for writing the combined program state word. So in this way, we can use directly PSR or we can use individually PSR. Then we'll be having the interrupt mask registers. So you can see that you can go here. See, there is interrupt mask registers. You can see down at the bottom of the line, you can see that there is an interrupt mask register. So primary mask, fault mask, and base primary. So that is there. So this is the primary mask, fault mask, and base primary register. Now the primary mask, that is mask and base registers, are useful for temporary disabling interrupt in timing critical task. So if I want to enable interrupt, if I am enabling the interrupt, and it becomes very important to disable the interrupts in critical task, at that time we can use primary mask and base primary. And OSI could use fault mask to temporarily disable fault handling when task has crashed. So as far as fault handling is concerned, fault mask can be used. In this scenario, a number of different faults might be taking place when task crashes. Once the core starts cleaning up, it might not want to be interrupted by other faults caused by the crash process. And therefore, fault mask gives the OS kernel time to deal with the fault conditions. So that is most important. Certainly what happens if there are a number of faults and all these fault condition appears, at that time there should be some time given to the OS otherwise it will collapse. So at that time, this fault mask will give the OS kernel time to deal with the fault conditions. So in this way, the primary mask, fault mask, and base primary are used. Now, if we see in detail how these syntaxes can be used or how it is written in assembly language, then we can come to know. First of all, we'll see that what pry mask means. It is a 1-bit register. When this is set, it allows NMI and hard fault exceptions. All other interrupts and exceptions are masked. The default value is 0, which means that no masking is set. So if it is 1, then it is masked. If it is 0, no masking. Fault mask, a 1-bit register, which is when this is set, it allows only NMI and all interrupt and fault handling exceptions are disabled. The default value is 0, which means that no masking is set. Then base pry is register up to 8-bit. So the above two are 1-bit, but this is one 8-bit. So depending upon the bit width implementation of priority level, it defines a masking priority level. When this is set, it disables the interrupt of the same or lower level. Higher priority interrupt can still be allowed. If this is set to 0, then the masking function is disabled. Now see how the syntaxes can be written here. You can easily see it. In assembly language, again MRS and MSR are used for reading and writing purpose. So when I'm saying MRS R0 base pry, it means you're reading the base pry register into R0. When I'm using MRS R0 primary mask, that means you're reading the primary mask into the R0. Then R0 fault mask, then you're reading the fault mask register into R0. This is for reading. Now if for writing, MSR base pry R0, that is writing R0 to base pry register, and MSR primary mask R0, writing R0 into primary mask register. MSR fault mask R0, that is writing R0 to fault mask register. So we can say that the primary mask, fault mask, and base pry registers cannot be set in the user access level. Okay, so this is how they are. Then the last section of the register is the control register. So it actually, the control register is used to define the privilege level and the stack pointer selection. This register has 2 bits. So the control register is used to define the privilege level. What is the privilege level? And selection. This register has 2 bits. One is 1 and the other one is 0. In the Cortex M3, control 1 bit is always 0 in handler mode, but in thread mode, it is either 0 or 1. Now what is the handler mode is means it is not in the program mode, main program mode. When it is in a thread mode or base level mode, it is in the program mode. And when it is in the program mode, it is either 0 or 1. If it is not in the program mode, then it is always 0. Then control 0 bit is writable only in the privilege state. Once it enters the user state, the only way to switch back to privilege is to trigger an interrupt and change this to the exception handler. Matlab, a control 0 is writable only to the privilege state. It is not been for the user state. But if it goes to the user state, it has to come back again to the privilege state, and that can be done with the help of interrupt. So this is how control 1 and control 0 works out to be. So we can say that in order to access the control register in assembly, the MRS and MSR instructions are used. So MRS is 0 control, R0 control means reading the control registers into R0, and MSR is for writing the R0 into control register. So control 1 is a stack status, 1 is alternate stack is used, 0 is default, and for control 0, 0 is the privilege in thread mode, whereas 1 is user state in a thread mode. So there are 2 states, privilege and user state in control 0, whereas control 1 there is a stack status. So I do feel so we have finished it. Once I'll remember once again, we'll go back. This is the registers bank and push and pop. So push and pop can be used for what purpose? Push and pop. So push is used for accessing back up the register contents, and pop is for restoring the register contents. And for link register, when subroutine is called, the return address is stored in the link register. This is the syntax. Program counter. So for program counter, It is the current program address. It gives the current program address. It can be written to control the program flow, and the location is always different. It is up by 4 special registers. So you can see that program status register, interrupt mask registers, and control registers. So for reading purpose, MRS is used, and for writing purpose, MSR is used. The program status register is again divided into 3 status registers. One is application program status register, interrupt program status register, and execution program status register. So read and write can be done with the help of MSR and MRS. So in this way, we can read and write the program status register. It can be individually read or write, written, as well as it can be combinedly read and written. As far as IPSR and APSR are concerned, they are only read only, whereas APSR can read and as well as can be written. So this is the APSR, IPSR, and EPSR, and when they are combined together, it looks like this. So if I want to combinedly access the PSR, you can read with the help of MRS and write with the help of MSR. So this is the primary fault mask, primary mask, fault mask, and base pry. So all these 3 things are used in different ways. The first 2, that is primary mask and base primary, are used for temporarily disabling the interrupts. They are used to disable the interrupts in critical tasks. Whereas in case of primary and fault mask, it gives the OS time to deal with the fault conditions. Then we can say that how you can read as well as write. These 3 we have seen this. Then control, there are 2 bits of control. One is it is used to define the privilege level and stack pointer selection. So it has 2 bits, 1 and 0. So 1 or 0 can be used in when it is in a thread or base level, whereas in 0 it is in handler mode. When 0 it is been writable only in privilege mode. When it goes back to user state, it can come back to the privilege state by triggering an input interrupt. So this is the control and 1 and control 0. Have you understood, students?